What's going on, guys? Welcome to mikeybalzz Fishing. Today, fun deal. Bug, you're gonna have so much fun. We're gonna enjoy ourselves. It's gonna be so much fun. We're in shallow water. We're surrounded by grass, and the bass are in the grass spawning. I'm gonna show you a topwater technique. It's super fun. It's literally a transplant from Florida. There's a very subtle way to do it though. It's not the easiest technique to do because it's very, I don't know, taxing mentally in my opinion. It's slow. You have to do it slowly or it doesn't work. Like there aren't accident fish, like you need to do it slow. So we're gonna go through how to do it. It works great on pre-spawn, staging, and especially spawning fish. It's this cool topwater technique, and the fish come up, you see them like under it eating. It's a cool technique. So come along with me today. We're gonna do some topwater spring spawn bass fishing. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Do it for Bog, the Bogster. Maybe we'll catch a big one, maybe we won't, but I guarantee you, you're gonna be using this technique. Got it. Stay out of there. So let's start off with where you do it. Basically, I'm looking for, I got my C-map all shaded. These pink spots are super shallow. So I'm looking for kind of shallow points, shallow flats that stick out, because what we're trying to do is these fish bed, they make holes in this grass, and we're just looking for like flats that we can tuck into and basically cast this bait at these targets, fish them through these spaces, kind of search for hard bottom, and at the same time, I'm gonna tell you what the cool trick is. You can look for sight fish as you're doing it. But basically, we're just looking for some shallow stuff, some shallow stick outs, shallow points, because they'll stack up spawning fish just like they stack up pre-spawn fish. Go. Stay out of the grass. Look out. Old Florida tactics coming in handy, boys. Fish on. That's a little better one. Just came up and sucked it on up, dude. Look out, Buck. Look out, look out, look out. Look out. Oh, gunners with bass eating Florida baits. Topwater bass fun. All right, so what bait are we talking about? Super simple. This guy. I don't know what this one is. This is the Berkeley version, but basically it's a devil's horse. It's a bladed style topwater, and it just chugs. It does kind of like this weird bubbly action. It's almost like a slow presentation or an open hook presentation of a buzz bait. And for some reason, these spawning fish lose their mind over it. Now, a couple notes. So you can see I have this thing on a clip. That's my owner clip, but you'll see these two bobber stoppers right here. What happens is I throw this on 40-pound braid. This is a 7-foot medium action rave rod. This is like a 13 fishing 821 reel that I had, but 40-pound braid's the key. What happens is if you don't put those bobber stoppers on there with braid, if you go on JT's channel, he'll talk about it. If you don't put that on there, it wraps around that blade, and basically you end up just fouling the bait every time you kind of buzz it, because when these blades spin, they draw in that braid. It's almost like your reel. It reels up that braid. So by putting those on there, I think JT's trick is to take a WD-40 tubing and cut it. You put a bobber stopper in front of it, and then you put that WD-40 tubing in front of the bait, and that keeps it up. These I found at Tackle Warehouse. I'll put a link to them. I think they're actually California or West Coast split shot rig stuff. It's for using little like split shot, little tiny weights, and like almost like a modified Carolina rig, like a finesse Carolina rig. But they work perfect for this to keep that blade from wrapping up the line. But the setup's simple. I mean, it's your classic Topwater setup, braid, high-speed reel, and then kind of like a parabolic or a softer rod, because you're not really blazing the bait, and oftentimes these fish kind of suck it down. So you really want that rod tip to kind of load up versus being really stiff. They do get around some of this grass like we talked about. That's literally what we're targeting. But the trick is you're gonna lose some fish doing this no matter what, just because they swipe at it. But the key being is you're gonna get bites that other people aren't getting. Fish that won't close the deal on, like say like a floating frog, which is normally what you do around here, or even fish that won't eat off the bottom. They'll swipe at this bait, and because it's got treble hooks on it, you're more apt to hook them. I'm gonna show you how this thing works. It's a lot of fun to fish. Like I said, the only kind of caveat is you gotta do it slow. Fish. Got a little pattern going, boys. It's a nice one. No bug. We're not getting hooked today, boys. But all you do is you just kind of, sploosh it. It's almost like we used to fish for peacocks. Nice little guy. And all you do is you use these blades to, look up, boy, to kind of create a disturbance up shallow and pause it, and it just, it really drives them nuts. So how do you fish this contraption? Well, I look for like holes in the grass, kind of like what we got right there. And I'll cast it out, and I think the biggest trick is you let it sit for like 5 to 10 seconds. There's something about that, like letting the swirl go away, and then you just reel it a little bit taut, and you just make it bubble, and then you stop. Like, it is mind-numbing fishing, and you give it another twitch, and these fish usually hit it when it's like stopped. I rarely have them, or they'll hit it like right as you're about to kind of like, it's almost like a jerkbait bite, right as, ooh, here comes one. Right as you're about to move it. But it's super subtle. It's great during spring because it catches two kinds of fish, like pre-spawn fish, and it'll catch them off the bed too, because it sits over the top of them and they get all flustered about it. It's kind of like fishing a frog over a bed, but you just do it in the holes. It's a little more subtle. You fish it on braid. It's on 40-pound braid, but you do lose fish because they'll sideswipe it and they'll do stuff like that. But basically, I'm kind of just dragging it. If you guys remember when Jacob was talking about dragging a jerkbait, I'm just dragging the Topwater. I'm not really doing that much with it. Just kind of throwing it out there, letting it settle, and just making the blades spin ever so slightly. And it drives them freaking nuts, and I don't know why. So you can see we kicked up some dirt there. Not to be alarmed, that's actually what we're looking for. We really want to be shallow with this technique, because the whole trick is the bait kind of settles over the top of the fish, and it's in such close proximity. Even though it's a topwater bait, it drives them nuts. It's almost like bed fishing, but you're doing it from the top instead of the bottom.
Girl, to get a lot of dough, anything is possible. Turn me up in the headphone. Yeah. Trying to get a lot of dough and dirt through all the obstacles, cause anything is possible. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Got ourselves one on bed. Got her. Oh dear. That's a nice one. 8-pound test, boys. Power Ned. We are into the spawn. How about that? Oh, this is so cool. All right, let's let her get back to the bed. fish. Oh! One of these times it's gonna be a 6-pounder, boys. Got it. She was behind it the whole time. Ooh, let's not do that. Bob, can you catch that fish for me? Saw him come up and eat it. You just sideswiped it. You didn't even eat it, did you? Oh, better release. Got it. That's a little better one. Dude, it's crazy. You just let it sit and they come over and they're like, hello, I want your bait. Step on. All right, we're gonna wrap this video up. Get yourself a bladed topwater. Couple things to note that I don't think I mentioned in the video. You don't want too much wind. This is one of the few examples of topwater fishing where you don't want a bunch of chop in the water. It's a very subtle presentation. This is about as much as you want. Just a little bit of a ripple to kind of, I don't know, displace like the, you know, the big plastic silhouette of it. But it works in flat water. That's probably when it's best, especially if you have spawning fish. So too much water, too much like break, too much chop on the water, go to a buzz bait, go to something whopper plopper, go to something a little more obnoxious. Definitely throw it on braid though. These fish come and suck the bait up. You might want to put, if you have fish that are kind of swiping at it and missing it, go ahead and put a mono leader, 20-pound big game, something like that. 15 if you're dealing with smaller fish. But mono will float and it'll give the bait a different look. The only problem is if you break off that leader, you're putting those bobber stoppers on again. It takes forever. So if you can get away with braid, 40-pound braid is very castable and it's thin enough where I don't think they get too spooked. The other caveat too, or the other trick, you want fairly clear water. Doesn't need to be gin clear, but it's a visual. Yes, you get the blade displacement and that kind of annoys them, I guess, but it's a visual topwater deal. You know, you want kind of this good green that you see around me, you know, the good green maybe with a little bit of a tinge in it, but fairly clear water. Otherwise, once again, traverse over to a buzz bait if the water's a little bit dirtier. But it's a fun technique and it's something I don't think they see a bunch, because putting hard baits like behind the grass lines and around grass, it's annoying to do. And especially fishing this thing this slow, it's not something people are going to gravitate towards. So give it a try. The other thing it's really good for, and I think I did mention in the video, is, you know, we're in that sight fishing, that spawn kind of time. It's a great way to slowly cover water and throw into little holes as you're looking for fish. It actually helps you to look for fish because you're targeting those little holes, so it'll have you looking for them, looking for those little spaces in the grass. So it's a good way to kind of cover water and get some extra bites while you're sight fishing. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Bog, I know you enjoyed this video. I'm really glad you didn't get hooked because you were way too interested in the fish when they blew up on top and I dragged them in. But it's a fun way to fish. I'm out on Guntersville. Try it on any of the TVA lakes or anywhere where you have a little bit of grass, a little bit of cover, even wood, and those fish fan out and you're looking for a different presentation where you're not just sight fishing them, not pitching something kind of on that bottom part of the water column, and you want to stay over the top and try something different. Fun technique. Give it a try. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe video. We'll see you next time back out on the water or talking fishing. Either or is good for me. Tight lines, guys.